Really glad you're here. This is an open forum. We want this to be a chance to get your questions answered. So today we're talking about holiday fear. We have CTO of Quest, Mike Dillon, as well as Adam, who was just talking, VP of Sales and Partnerships. If you have questions at any point, please, ask in the chat, and we will get them answered for you. And we're doing this. We try to do this every month to be here, let you know what's happening and what's changing, and again, get your questions answered. So, Adam, take it from here.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Paul. So I know we did have a couple questions come in before, from some of the registrations. And one of the questions that came up, Mike and I both saw it. Paul, do you mind reading that question around? I think it was around how to. I think I can ad lib it here, but I think the main question that came in was, how do you start the cybersecurity conversation, either with executives or partners or people who maybe don't have that cybersecurity mindset. So Mike, that was a question that came in actually from a partner of ours, but I think it applies to to clients as well as partners in regards to where do you start when you're having that conversation?
Yeah. It definitely applies to everybody because it takes time and money here for like security. So from a business perspective, it's going to take time and money. So I always ask, like, there's always a Boy Scout model, like it's just good to do it, right? This is what we need to do, which I always applaud the effort. And then there's like, when it takes time and money, that could fade away. And I've seen that fade away quickly too, because people really do try to do, hey, this is best practice. This is what we need to do to be secure. And the business top, security, the top 5, never the top 1. Well, to be blunt, ransomware changed that around a lot. I mean, it used to be worried about, do I have a natural disaster concern with some intrusion type of things. But now the likelihood of ransomware or some sort of a business email or fraud compromise taking place is probably a lot higher than worrying about some sort of natural disaster. Not that natural disasters can be ignored, but the likelihood of some other type of cybersecurity thing taking place is probably higher. So I always like to ask, like, why do you think you need it? And that kind of boils down to sometimes, hey, I need it because I had this of my own experience, and it may be an executive, maybe they had it with their previous company, or maybe their peers have had it and their peers will tell them, hey, you need to really listen to this security stuff. So it may be starting just with that. So you can throw NIST and this act and that act out there, but sometimes that own personal experience really pulls a lot of weight. So I'll ask for that perspective, like, why do you want to spend money here? And if it's like, well, I just want to be ready, I know it could happen, maybe it'll happen, I don't have a lot of money, you may have that approach. Or maybe somebody say, hey, I had this happen to us at my previous company or my peer company or my bank, and they told me, hey, this is real, you need to be ready for this. So you got to understand some of those drivers at first. It may be, I've seen it too, well, my customer contract says I need to have this now. So it says I need to be, I need to have a third-party security penetration test annually. I need to be CMMC. I need to be something. So it may be on contracts with your supplier or with your customer. And then I've seen suppliers say, listen, I'm not going to let you connect to me unless you have these type of security standards too. So it may be a third-party supplier because they've been burnt by their customers too, getting compromised. So it may be by that. And really the one that's there, and sometimes it's at the top list and sometimes it's at the bottom list, is because I've got to get through some sort of a HIPAA gap assessment. I got to get through GLBA. I got to get through whatever regulation requirement here, which is always interesting because I see that at times where people have to get through the regulation requirement, but doesn't always mean that they're cybersecurity ready. They've just got through the regulation requirement. So I kind of like to understand from a business perspective, why are we here? Why are you engaging here? Okay, this is going to help you understand how much you spend, maybe some critical dates, maybe some very specific practices or platforms or services that you have to look at. So you're not just kind of going off of the best practice list, which is always good. I mean, if somebody's going to start off with 0, they could look at some best practices, NIST, 800, 171 or something like that, maybe there. But I always like to understand from a business perspective, why are we doing this? Now, we're all probably in the technology business in some fashion that's up on the call. Either you're a partner or you're IT at a customer location, and we live it. So be careful of that. Everyone understands what you're living. I live a lot of stuff within cybersecurity, from highs and lows to O-nos to OSs. And so I've seen a lot of stuff, but I can apply that to every customer that I meet and every conversation I have, that they've got my experience and they understand what I'm talking about or where we've been. And probably same thing with your security team. If you have a security team engaged with customers, or even a customer security team, they're trying to communicate that to the corporations. So understand that. Recently too, with a lot of M&A activity, sometimes the purchasing group or the purchasing partner or whatever the case is, they may have their own standards too that you got to understand too. So if you have a private equity group that you're being bought, or maybe you're being sold, they may have some standards too that you have to live to. So keep that, that's got to be your guide on. So if you go away from that guide on, and sometimes that guide on has to be validated every month or every quarter with the customer to make sure we're still on the guide on. It may be a practice of start here and then grow over time, but I want to have a guide on along the way says, again, why are we here? We had this with a customer that was purchased by a PE group and then was purchased then by another company, and the PE group had their standards. Now their purchasing group has another standard. So we're transitioning from one standard that the private equity group had to the corporation at bottom to their standards. Always, always important to make sure that you understand why are we here for cybersecurity. And always important to you gotta kind of hold back your own experiences, because not everyone has had them. It will help with your experience as you ask some of these questions and understand. But we all know this takes time and money, and we want to understand what is the commitment and why are we doing this. So does that help, Adam? I don't know if that may be a long-winded answer with everybody, but that really has helped me as we go to our customers and our partners and our own internal selves. Why am I doing this? And it could be applied to a lot of things, but cybersecurity is a big deal, because you could go into a lot of rat holes and a lot of expensive things, and you're sitting there going, I'm not sure if I'm going to get money on this. It's a good idea. How do I get this justified?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and that justification isn't always the same for every business. There's
Correct.
There's the Boy Scout model of always being prepared, but when dollars come into mind and when budgets come into mind, those always be prepared methodologies. Maybe there's some wiggle room there, and you got to kind of identify the real priorities. Multi-factor authentication, those types of requirements are good, but are those other features really something that they want to turn on or license at this time?
Yeah.
I know
that's a good example of MFA, because people don't like it, and security is kind of a pain in the backside. But you need to have that support, and the whole team has to understand why they're doing this. That does help out. So initiatives.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Paul, good question.
Yeah, Paul, were there any other questions that came in before or during so far?
Yeah, we got some. So Mark was wondering, how is the shadow AI conversation? What can we sell them?
Gotcha. Okay, so Mark, how you doing, Mark? From one of our partners from a transaction standpoint, that's good stuff. One of the things we're seeing right now in the AI and the shadow AI is a lot around. It's a security conversation around permissions for what you can and can't use. and what you can and can't share. So, Mike, I don't know if you want to get into the persona conversation and like what we're doing with not with CrowdStrike, but with Copilot assessments and people using AI. But I know we're helping a lot of firms kind of understand what controls you can put in place and what controls maybe are already accessible, but maybe not enforcing a policy. Because the last thing an organization wants to see happen is, you have some sales rep, download your database and export it into Grok or Perplexity or some AI tool to manipulate the data in some way that might be proprietary, that might be something you don't necessarily want to share with, the LLMs of the world. But it's that same policy, right? It's that same kind of policy conversation. What are we allowing people to do?
Yeah. So we have kind of a process with assuming that their AI shadows somebody's using AI. So it may be a question of why am I using AI and what's the value to the business and what's my ROI. So it may be that discussion too. So, but assuming people are trying to use AI, not that they're using it to be the most beneficial, but assuming that they are very, 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 very tricky here with the security stuff and the regulation, because they could kind of like collide with each other. So it could stop things or lock people up or really kind of go into this no decision. We'll just kind of do whatever we kind of can get away with and we'll see what happens, which is probably, you wait for some sort of a, disaster or some sort of a, lawsuit or something. So, so a very simple thought. So if you're familiar with Copilot, Microsoft Copilot, and so some of these AIs like a Copilot can get around your current, even internally, your current infrastructure or your current identity management, your current roles and responsibilities, your current access control for people. So a classic example of that is you turn on Copilot within an environment, start letting people have it, and they all of a sudden, Copilot now sucks in the data that maybe is from HR, payroll, maybe some sort of intellectual property, those type of things. And just internally to the business, now that little gateway around your rights to who could get to whatever file has just been compromised. So besides, like Adam's talking about going out to the LMs and having them compromised, just keeping it simple for internal, once you turn on some of that stuff, now all of a sudden, somebody that has Copilot can get into your HR records. And that's probably not a good strategy or a good practice. So some of the stuff is security is a big deal, the shadow piece. The shadow piece could also come down to, we also see a lot of people shadowing from a cost perspective. So a lot of people could be spending money here on different shadow AI tools and sort of all over the place, like Adam rattled off 3 or 4 of them. I don't know if there's hundreds, but there's a lot of AI people or platforms that are charging people money. So you just may see that on some of your corporate cards too. And like the data says, what Adam's saying there, the sprawl of your data is now all over the place. So we have definitely been working with people on how to maintain the sprawl. We've been also working with people on how to get kind of the AI readiness, depending on, even working through what is your AI, what is your business, like requirements, what are your AI platforms you want to use or you're currently using. Not to boil the whole ocean all the time, but there are those things. We also have put things in place too that helps prevent people from downloading or going or loading up AI tools, because that's part of the security is, maybe controlling that, that aspect too. So definitely the sprawl from a spending perspective, is this the right business objective? From a security perspective, there are a lot of things that you could be working with customers on to help out. And if it's somebody trying to sell something, if it's internal IT or if it's a partner, we're all selling something. And you may be trying to sell security or you may be trying to sell the sprawl. The first is just really to get to that readiness point. What are we really ready for? And that will help you sort of can you control it? I'm saying if you start off with, hey, I want to control things, like I just want to get in there and stop everything. I don't see a lot of people doing just, I'm going to stop the whole world of AI coming into me. So there's probably something going on. You probably have more of a readiness. Hey, this is happening. How can I be ready? And how can I manage then the environment as people are using Copilot, Chat, Grok, whatever it is with it? So it's a good thing. It's a good thing to look at from a readiness perspective, because it's probably happening to you anyway. So, but we sell, back to the thing, if somebody wants to say, sell something, we sell an AI readiness. That's one example. We sell consulting services. That's another example to help with the AI. We sell also, how do I manage and configure your AI platform if you have picked one up, and what are some details and reporting and ongoing, and there's a whole bunch of stuff around AI. So good stuff. I like it. I mean, there's an example that I used internally that, people ask, hey, why don't I, can I use that tool? Yeah, and a lot of them have the tools where you could get up on a WebEx and it takes notes of everything, right? And everyone's, literally, the AI tools taking notes of everything everyone's saying, and then it summarizes it. Really handy. But from a legal perspective and a data for under discovery, if you go into litigation, hold on to your hats. I mean, it's hard enough to just worry about emails and text, let alone now the system, not just people writing down notes, because that could be part of your discovery, or the discovery in the deposition too, is the notes you took from on your monthly notebook. A lot of people have like a notebooks. Those may get pulled in. Well, you can imagine people love this summarization, note taking, and that's going to be right there. I mean, it's going to be here we go. Here's some e-discovery, and here's our 450 hours of all of our chat notes and summaries that we talked about. And some of that stuff may be stuff you may not want to, you wish you wouldn't have recorded. So good stuff.
We have a follow-up question on Shadow AI real quick before we move on. Is the Shadow AI also checking machine-to-machine information exchange, trying to detect a malicious prompt injection?
So it can. You got to have your system set up to do that, and your policies in place for systems to do that. But it can. You can get pretty detailed depending on the tools that you have and some of the processes that you got, and the policies you have to get in place. You could get some of these tools get very, very granular about the policies that you want to put in place.
Okay, great. Thank you. Adam,
Yeah.
do you want to cover holiday gifts for threat actors? We do have one more question as well.
Sure. Let's hit the question, and it would be make sure we get the holiday message out, because I think that's important too. You said Adam, but sorry about that. And
No worries.
I'm not the one necessarily seeing all the threats. I definitely talk to a lot of our partners and folks as far as what we're seeing from engagements. But like the top one there, Mike, if you want to kind of go through it, I know just last week we saw a phishing campaign that came out from a partner group that went through a small compromise for an email. And you see some of those phishing emails typically, get injected into their system, and then they're publishing that, trying to spread it to other contacts as well. But I know we do a lot around email security, and your team's seeing what, about 40 to 400% rising in phishing emails depending on the industry.
Yeah, and it's just we've been doing this a while. This is a pretty, kind of starts off low, then it gets into it kind of depends on what catches on too, by the way, and what's sort of going on in the environment. There's also like enrollment time, besides the seasonal stuff, the charity stuff. I mean, there's just like tons of ways people could get tricked here. So threat actors know that. And usually actually when we actually see the actual attack is usually like what's happening right now when people are sending out these emails, the access brokers, like this is like the peak season for an access broker. If you know what an access broker is, they're in the cyber world, right? There's a couple of major business units, and one is the access broker, and they get paid by getting your information and then they have an opportunity to then sell it to like a ransomware as a service group. So access brokers love this season. I mean, it's just like old term here. Not sure if it's politically correct anymore, but you're just shooting fish in a barrel. There's just so many opportunities during this time to put out FUD, scare, fool, and trick people into, people from, hey, I'm trying to get out of the office. Let me just answer this one email from this person that looks like it's a CFO. I'm going to take care of what they said, and they're going to the CFO's out on holiday, so I won't cross-check with him. I'm just going to do it, and it's some sort of an email fraud or some sort of a transfer fraud of some like amount of dollars, or a fake invoice, or you're paying somebody from ACH to the wrong account. I mean, there's just like tons of things going on. So this is like peak season for phishing, for access brokers. So it isn't a fun time, because we all kind of would like to have our holiday time, and we all like to have our own, vacation, and, we have people, can we all just kind of chill? It's kind of like, it's Christmas season. Can it just be Christmas season and we all just enjoy that? Well, they say the opposite. This is their opportunity year, time of year. So we see the ransomware, and some of the ransomware stuff too that we'll see. It may not always happen in December, but we'll see it happen like in February, March. And we see the initial attack, the initial point of entry came in December. So when we go back and do forensics, a lot of the stuff may come through. It's happening in December. So again, this is that time of year where people are, like I put up here, we're bringing in, seasonal workers. Maybe we're adding some third-party services to help out. We're reducing our staff level because of maybe the help, or because of holiday seasons, and they're going to take a week or two off. So this is what happens. So it's a gift that keeps on giving here from the threat actors. What we kind of talk to people about here too is just a simple thing, kind of a no cost or low cost, whatever you want to call it, for the holiday gift here. It is just get out more than one email about what's taking place, and advise your users. Maybe you have a security awareness type of a thing. Maybe you've got some sort of a message, like we send out security advisors to our customers and to our own internal people, again, more than once a month, once every week, twice a month. But we're letting people know, even on if there's a company call, sometimes there's a corporate call to wrap up the year. We're telling executives to get the message out to their teams. So we're trying to spread the word about this is peak season for these emails. Please talk to your people. If there's any suspicious email, don't click on it. If people call you up to have you do something, please take the time. Don't just rush out door, because you got holiday thing to take care of. Double check, trust and verify. Keep that consistently going through this period. Very, very big, very tough, but very big. So those are the things that we kind of want to tell people. It's a low cost, no cost type of a deal to get that message out to your teams. And along with that thought there too, time is, I know there's a seasonal worker time thing kicking in. You may have to create new user IDs. So that could be a process. You just want to double check and make sure everyone's good on how to verify, that's a real ID, where's the record of truth on that stuff, and make sure we have a process for those too. And then if there's something suspicious coming out, have people double check, why am I giving this person, or why am I creating this user ID if I don't have a record of truth for it. So those have been good. Immutable backups, I say immutable backups, not sure if you can turn it all on right now, but remember, what we see a lot of times is the ransomware attack may come in February, March. You get access probably today, or maybe this next couple of weeks, and by the time it goes through the process, it could be an hour. So it does happen that fast, or it could be a couple months. Just think of your immutable storage. Like, where are you with that? If you're going to be out on vacation, you're 2 days away from finishing that project, do what you got to do to finish it, to have immutable storage onto your system. Or turned on one of your hyperscalers. So sometimes you just have to make sure you have the right, backup service enabled there. So these are all good things that we tell people to watch out for. And, make sure that you have some sort of an idea of a incident response plan. So a lot of times when we get that ransomware attack or that email compromise, people don't know who to call. So we have a link. So on our website, and we actually use it, so this isn't just a marketing ploy, there is an attack button that's up on our website. You go click on that. We'll respond. We respond within about 20 to 30 minutes. That goes to our Tiger team and our executive management team. So I'll see it too. So will the owner, Tim. So we are very responsive to this. We've unfortunately have had to help out customers that have gone through this, and it's fast. Like minutes can actually make a difference here on clicking a button and getting somebody up on a call. So be okay with what you got to do. Some people may be out of town. The CEO or whoever your decision makers are may just have to just know where they're at in case this happens. Kind of know who your cybersecurity team is or insurance broker is, what that process is, know who your legal counsel is, and know your decision makers if this takes place. So doesn't have to be a great big plan, although we do some pretty intense incident response plans. It could just be as simple as knowing who to call. So good stuff. But the other thing too, I didn't put it up here, but know how people reset passwords. I know this is, we sent out, and if you want to get an email, we sent out an email. It's been now probably, 5 or 6 months. We sent out an email through our security advisor message. So if you want to see that, let Darcy, Adam, and Paul know. We sent out an example email on a policy that we work with our customers on about how to reset and how to work with people to reset passwords. And it's about trust and verify. And so if you want to see that email, send us an email. We'll get that simple policy over to you. But it's pretty much we have your record. We'll call in. It's predefined record about who to call back. Somebody has a password that needs to be reset. We'll say thank you, and then we'll call that user back on a predefined email, or excuse me, on a predefined cell phone number or phone number. It could be a supervisor. It doesn't have to be everyone has to have a cell phone, but it may be to a supervisor to have them validate that, John Smith is trying to get the password reset. That makes a big difference when you're dealing with social engineering in this time of year when people want to call in to have things reset and try to get compromised. So a lot of good stuff there. A lot of just probably overwhelmed everyone with their holiday gifts. If you want a copy of this presentation and this slide, Justin could get that to you too. And if you want a copy of that policy for that password, let us know also. So I'll stop talking there, Paul and Adam. Probably not sure if I put everyone to sleep, but there's some good feedback just on some holiday gifts and some, things that you could do between now and next Thursday if you're going off that aren't maybe overwhelming, but some things you could do if you need some help over the next couple of days.
Yeah, that reset. I know. I mean, so I went through the verified change request and money transfers. Personally, I had that phone call from our accounts payable team to me directly last week saying, "Hey, Adam, are you authorizing this requested wire transfer?" And we had someone try to spoof my alias, try to come in, send a note to our AP team that I was somehow authorizing a wire transfer. Now, luckily, after they forwarded it to me, we looked at it and just said, "Hey guys, that domain's not our domain." That person put my signature on the bottom of the email, right? They put my contact information and my name, but the domain wasn't from Quest. So it was a low budget attempt, but it had the question, "Hey, are you approving this?" And it's like, guys, that's from a random Gmail account and it's kind of broken English. I typically my emails are pretty bad. I'll give them that. My emails and my English in email is not the best punctuated, but it's usually not that bad.
Well, if it's more than 2 sentences, it's not from you or I.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's it.
That's a good hack too. Yeah. If it's more than 2 or 3 sentences, typically it's not coming from one of us. So yeah. Yeah. That happens all the time. And then I think, Mike, I think it's important that like that policy you just talked about around the kind of the trust but verify on the policy about, hey, you have a defined set of contact criteria to call back. Because in the social engineering thing, something that sometimes I think people don't think necessarily like bad actors like a lot of us do. So like your example earlier of we live this every day, you know, talk to your significant others, talk to people who aren't in this business. They have no idea that someone would spoof a phone number, spoof an alias, or come back at you and ask for a password change on an account. And so they might see it as annoying to have the help desk or someone call back a predefined, approved phone number. But, if someone gets your username or credentials, if someone knows the name of your help desk and they know your name and credentials, and if you don't have some kind of a predetermined way to actually validate they are who they are, say they are, you're a sitting duck. You're just waiting to get hit.
Yeah. And what's kind of crazy is these guys love pressure. So if you've got to give your help desk, your service desk, whoever it is, your application team, who's ever resetting your password, you got to give them like a release valve. These guys are good. I mean, social engineering, these guys are good. They're screaming, going, hey, I'm doing this. Adam told me to get a hold of you, and he needs to have this reset. He's going to be landing here in 2 hours. If I don't have this reset, he's going to be all over me. These guys are good, right? They know who's who. They probably know who's who from an executive team or from a leadership team. That's not too difficult to get from companies. And they want to apply pressure. And you got to give your team some relief valve. Say, hey, I'll help you. Let me go ahead and I'll call you back. And don't give them the number. Just say, politely, I'll give you a call back. And you call back on that person's, predetermined line. You got to give them an out. If you don't give them an out, they're just going to get hammered. These guys come in as an MSP, they'll keep calling us, and it's hard to block. I mean, it's the idea that you mentioned of spoofing it. There is no they're trying to come up with some laws and some requirements for spoofing phone numbers, but there isn't one out there. So, we all know it. We all get text messages or phone calls every single day as far as being spammed. And you try to block it on your phone, but, there's obviously ways around it, and they see that you're doing it. So you got to give your team like this out going, hey, this is what I'm okay with. And as like a leader, you got to be able to say, hey guys, don't scream at somebody. If they can't go hold you on the call back, they know they can call your supervisor, and supervisor knows you just changed your number last week and you didn't update the system. But, there's an escalation process there, but give them a chance. You got to give them a chance, because social engineering is so damn good. And what's really nice from our perspective, they like to come after us, right? MSPs are kind of targets too, because they know they get into one, they get into many. So they come after us, and I got to give our team a chance to, deflect it and to validate it without getting screamed at or get pressured.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mike, Caleb was wondering, have you run into any deep fake combined with this type of spoofing?
So from a voice perspective, we have. So sometimes voice gets in there. I haven't ran into it yet on the video personally. There were some video concerns we have, like people connecting and those type of things. Like a lot of times, even with us, right, got to watch out for it. People getting up on a bridge. We challenge we don't always put video on at Quest. We don't always have to have video on, so you're not sure if it's them all the time, but you could be spoofed because it says, user number 1, user number 2. So we have a challenge with that. But I haven't seen it other than a voice. So again, things on what you look at deep fake. So people come in and they sound like they're XYZ, they sound like they're American, to be blunt on some of it, or maybe they're pretending that they are India, because that makes more sense on where people would be coming from, or even a different a foreign country. But I haven't seen a lot of it on the video yet, although we do get in with companies on their interviews, as everyone we have heard or seen, a couple months back, where the interview process is. So we are working with companies on the interview process, on how they validate from a video on interview.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thanks. Do we have time for one more question?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Do you have the ability to sell support Splunk? If so, what are your engineering resources like for deployment? So know a little bit of a pivot from what we were just talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think selling Splunk, I don't know if it's literally like the Splunk SKUs, I'm sure everyone knows, Cisco owns Splunk now. So we've been a long-term partner of Cisco, and we've been dealing with Splunk for years. So Splunk, if you don't know, is a SIEM, or it's one of its core functions is being a SIEM. So we do have people that get engaged, help deploy, tune, monitor it, respond to it. So there's a lot of things that Splunk can do. It's a pretty dynamic tool today. We have that now through the Cisco partnership. They kind of put underneath the Cisco way of doing things. So we've been adapting to that too. But yeah, Splunk's been around a long time. We have people that know Splunk. Like any other SIEM, you got to really say what you're doing here. What are you focused on? Just gathering logs, or am I supposed to be taking action? What logs do I gather? What actions do I take? That stuff unfolds with what people are trying to do with the SIEM. So if you're trying to sell it as a product, if you're a partner, or if you're trying to sell it to your executive team that says we need Splunk or we need a SIEM, that's all there. And you got to go to, why do I need a SIEM? Well, sometimes regulatory requirements, or even, I forgot to mention last time too, on the selling thing, it may be cybersecurity insurance is a big one too that hits, maybe that's underneath your cyber insurance policy or your checklist with that. But SIEM has been around for a long time. It's started in probably 2000-ish with some of the earlier SIEM products, and Splunk being one of the earlier ones too. It's a pretty dynamic tool, and you can really do a lot of great things with Splunk besides just security too. It could be availability, uptime, performance, and those things too. So it's pretty dynamic. But yeah,
Like that's one of those situations too we run into where sometimes people maybe have a different concept of logging events versus long-term log retention, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of classic for that. Like, how long do you want to keep this data for forensics versus do you want to take action on it near term and then make a decision? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, definitely. Again, with any of the security stuff, what are we doing? Splunk can be kind of expensive, so you got to make sure you know what you're doing. Like Adam said, there's the log retention policy. A lot of vendors now put in log retention, how long you're going to keep it for, how much does that cost, does it cost anything extra? Because you got to say, am I just retaining the logs, or am I going back and do correlation and analysis and taking action based off of what logs? And I love logs. I mean, I'm a big proponent of people using logs every day for security, taking action, at least having them. Because when you get into a security issue or even an application performance issue, capturing logs to go back during that time and to look at them, that really is helpful. So you may not be doing the real-time reaction on them, but you just may need them to go back and let's see what the logs said, because a lot of logs, a lot of devices and applications don't really shoot you an SMP alert or some sort of a message saying, hey, I've got a problem. A lot of them kind of get into the fact that I'm going to log it. I'll log it. And then somebody has to go look at it. But being able to get your logging down is a big deal for security, for performance, and for troubleshooting. So I'm a big log proponent. Just you got to manage your budget. You got to manage how far you're going to go with it and your process to potentially scale that out.
Great.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Gentlemen, we did it.
Great question.
Went through all the questions. Well, no, one more quick question. Caleb was wondering, did you catch the voice deep fake?
We did, actually. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. the person was on vacation. So we went through a process. There was a password reset, and we went through the process, and that's actually caught a lot besides the deep fake. But we went through the process, and that person was on vacation. So we didn't call the person back. They didn't call us back either. So that was a good one there. But any action we take over the phone, we all work so much nowadays from home or remote or something, right? The idea that everyone's, looking at each other over a cubicle wall is probably changed a lot. So any type of like administration change, like password reset, MFA reset, I need a global ID, I need an ID created, any of those type of changes, or, we really do want to trust and verify for all those things. So so just keep that in mind. If it's the deep fake deal on the voice or something else, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. But besides the deep fake, the biggest thing are like call centers, our service desk, our help desk, it's just the pressure. They get phone calls. We'll go in like waves where we'll just get hammered with people trying to scream at us, trying to pressure us in. And our team just got to go, that release valve, we'll call you back.
Great. So, Adam, I don't know if you have any final thoughts, but real quick, just if you're interested in deeper discussions with us about cyber threats, vendor updates, or actual insights covered in today's session, simply scan the QR code right there. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Again, the open forum, we are doing this monthly to get questions answered. So if you have questions, when you register, be sure to give us a question so Adam and Mike can get those answered. Really appreciate your taking the time to be with us today.
Yeah,
Thanks everybody
And
very much.
Happy holidays.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a great one. And we'll see you next month.
All right.
See you soon. Bye.
Team.
Bye-bye.